my fellow aviators and my beloved mechanics. Welcome to another video in my channel here. And on this one, it's titled Engine Running, Grim Reaper Harvesting. Now this video was requested from a flight school. And at this flight school, a renter was getting a little bit too close to the hangars with the wingtips. So he decided to engage the parking brake, leave the engine running, and then go out and see if he had enough clearance to get by the hangar. Needless to say, this probably caused a big incident. Because you see, the parking brakes are just that, parking brakes. And, as a matter of fact, they're very inadequate at even holding the plane when it's parked. This is why we always use chocks to chock our aircraft. Now, let's talk into what it's like to leave the engine running and trust your parking brake to hold that aircraft. This is a very bad thing to do, my fellow pilots, because you may be inviting the Grim Reaper to come out and play with you. So now let's get into and talk about exactly what are the parking brakes. Because you know what, during my 30 years of being a certified flight instructor and running a flight school, many pilots have very little understanding about the parking brakes. Now, I'm also a mechanic, so I serviced hundreds, if not thousands, of brake systems and parking brakes and well versed in them. Now, when I was at your stage of training, I was told never use the parking brake because the temperature difference between night and day could rupture the lines. Well, I've changed about 100 brake lines, if not more. These are certified hoses. They're very strong and they're very reliable. I don't really think that's the cause. I mean, I guess it could happen. In 30 years, I've never seen it happen. But I think really what's going on here is that the parking brakes, just by the design, is not able to handle holding that aircraft in place. Now, if you look and see, let's look at this diagram of just what the parking brake system consists of. It consists of a reservoir where we put in mil-spec 5606 hydraulic fluid. Then it comes down to the master cylinders where we pump up that pressure and build up the pressure in the line. And that built up pressure comes down to the wheels of the airplane to what's called the caliper. Now, the caliper is nothing but a housing for a great big puck, just like a puck that you would play hockey with. And we put a black little O-ring around it. It costs like $2. So we put that O-ring around it, and that O-ring pushes that puck, holds that pressure, and puts it against our brake linings. You can see from this diagram here, the system all taken apart. It's extremely simple. And if you notice, the whole system relies on $1 or $2 black O-rings. Now, this system is prone to failure. First failure is just, having air bubbles in the line, having a low hydraulic fluid level, or just having worn and used or cracked O-rings. So the system fails quite often, to be honest with you. So now, look at the size of this caliper on your tire, and it's holding those brake linings against the rotor, which you can see here. If you look at the size of that, it all fits in the palm of my hand, and it's supposed to hold a huge aircraft in comparison, a 1,500 to 2,500 pound aircraft in place. The system is just too small. It's really not meant to be used. In fact, at my flight school, over 30 years that I've been teaching, I would teach how to set the parking brake, how to release the parking brake. And if you use the parking brake, I'll beat the bloody daylights out of you. And I wasn't kidding. I would hit them. So there you have it. And if you start using the parking brake or get into the habit of using it, well, that can lead to a lot of troubles. It's actually more trouble than it's worth. Just ask a JetBlue crew that took off from Long Beach in an Airbus 320 just a routine flight up to Sacramento, California. On this flight, they got delayed. They were held up waiting for their clearance, and it was taking longer than normal. And so the crew just engaged the parking brake and then just went about their business getting ready for the flight, the departure, planning for emergencies, just like we all do. And then all of a sudden the clearance came through and hey, they needed to get going. Well, the parking brake is awfully small. It's usually just a tiny knob like this or maybe a lever you pull. So it's really inconspicuous. Yeah, that's a big word for me. So you really can't notice it. Hey, now I'm talking like a mechanic. You can't notice that sucker. So, of course, the JetBlue, flight took off. And even you in your small training aircraft, if you have the parking brake on and you apply power, and the taxi's a little sluggish, maybe the takeoff's a little sluggish, and you're thinking to yourself, it must be density altitude. Nope, not density altitude. And you'll find out real fast. Because as you fly, there's nothing on the checklist saying, check your parking brake, make sure parking brake's off. In fact, on the checklist, most times parking brakes aren't even listed. And with this getting back to this JetBlue crew, they flew into Sacramento International, and upon landing, that parking brake held up just enough to blow out 4 main tires. And they injured 15 passengers. Now, when this happened, I thought to myself, man, these guys, they're ducked. They're done. They're getting fired. Well, at the time, I had a hangar mate that was sharing a hangar with me. He just happened to be an Airbus captain for JetBlue. And so after a while, I came up to him and I asked him, I said, hey, what happened to those 2 JetBlue pilots? I mean, are they asking if you would like a supersize your fries with that? I mean, what's going on? And he said something remarkable that made me just stop in my tracks. He said, nope, not only were they not fired, they were not even disciplined. Because when it came out, when they investigated the incident, there was nothing on the landing checklist that said parking brake off. Nope, wasn't on the checklist at all. So these guys got a free pass for just an e-ticket ride, I guess. So anyways, getting back to you guys doing this, you're not so fortunate. At flight schools across the nation, the lack of knowledge of the parking brake system and what the parking brake can and can't do, and mostly can't do, this leads to thousands of dollars in costs in your flight training. Because what happens is a student engages the parking brake, could do it when he just starts it up or in the run-up, doesn't matter. The engine will easily overcome them. Because once that wheel moves just a tiny bit, it's just rolling. Then, upon landing, it holds up just enough to put a horrible flat spot on that tire. And if there's any cord showing, or if the tire blows out, well, now that airplane may be disabled on the runway. So now your FBO owner or flight school owner has to go out there and have the airplane towed back into the maintenance hangar. The maintenance hangar does not have $300 tires just laying around, and inner tubes that are $100 to $200. So now that plane has to sit while we wait for our mechanics to get our part. Now when our mechanics do change those tires, it's going to be at least a $500 to $1,000 bill in labor for that plane to have all the tires replaced. Then $300 for each tire, so now that's $600. Now another $300 for inner tubes. So you can easily see this runs into the thousands of dollars. Then you have to take into account that that plane is grounded probably for about 2-3 days, maybe longer. That means that the flight school is losing all the revenue flights for that airplane for a week or two. This adds up into the thousands of dollars, and you don't have access to your airplane. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, who cares? That's up to the flight school owner to take care of, and I'm not paying for it. Well, unfortunately, that's not how businesses work. Businesses work by passing on all the costs to the consumer, which is you, flight student, which is you, aircraft renter. So in that cost of that airplane, the owner has to figure in the cost of blown out tires, flat spots, the plane being down for days, if not weeks, for waiting for tires to come in. So this is all factored in, and this is just one of the very small reasons of the high cost of flight training today. I pray that with watching this video, you become more knowledgeable of your parking brake system and how unreliable it is, and mostly to leave it alone. Now, this leads into the second part of how the Grim Reaper used these parking brakes to just take out people. Now, with the student that, or the renter at the flight school that left the engine running, used his parking brake, and got out of the plane, did he realize that those propeller blades are absolutely invisible? Even us as pilots, we don't even notice that they're there. Because if you can't see it, it's just not there until it whacks you in pieces and chops you up. And makes mincemeat out of you. And they really do. So we've had several accounts where people have gotten just maimed or killed just by walking into the propellers. So I pray that when you're operating your aircraft, if you have people around your aircraft, remember how deadly the propeller blades are. They're a killer. Our first example here is of a beautiful young lady. She was 22 years old when this happened to her. Her name is Lauren Scruggs Kennedy. What happened was she went on a sightseeing tour with the pilot just to see the sights. When they landed, the pilot fully briefed her. When you get out of the plane, go to the back. And then as she got out and she started moving forward, he even stuck his hand out there to tell, hey, go to the back of the plane. And she acknowledged and agreed. As soon as he got distracted doing something else, she went out and walked right into that propeller blade. Lauren lost her left eye, her left arm, and suffered traumatic head injuries. By the grace of God, she survived. This is a picture of Lauren now with her husband Jason, and she's living a rich and full life despite this horrible incident. And we, as a community, should pray for her, but also pray for the pilot. Because you can't imagine, as a commercial pilot, the only thing that would give me nightmares is that the thought of my crew or my passengers or the people underneath my aircraft getting harmed in any way. This is truly the fear of a working pilot. So that pilot that didn't shut the engine down, I know every day he thinks about what he could have done, just shutting the engine down, and then when everybody was clear, yelling clear prop. There's a reason why we do that. But thinking about how it would have only taken moments to shut down the engine, have that passenger get away from the aircraft, and then just restart. No big deal, only takes a moment or two. But then we get into another situation, and believe me, this situation is going to come up when you hit the flight line. This is on a jump plane for a skydive operation. This young lady's name was Amanda Gallagher. And this happened in Derby, Kansas, I believe. It's next to Wichita, Kansas, where I would go every year for my annual flight safety training. So she was there observing and taking photographs of a skydiving operation. While the parachute jumpers were loading into the plane, she just absentmindedly just kept backing up to get a better shot, backed right up into that propeller. Unfortunately, Amanda did not make it. She succumbed to her wounds at the hospital, and we lost her. So there's another life that we lost. And remember, as aviators, it's not about the flight hours. It's not about getting that job flying an Airbus or a Gulfstream. The job is to care for your passengers, to safeguard them, to protect their lives, and to make them as comfortable as you can. That's our real job. And if you start thinking that way now, you'll be well prepared when you get on the flight line as a professional pilot. And as a captain that's hired many first officers, with that attitude, you will ace your interview. So with that, I would like to ask us to send our prayers and our time, just thinking about Amanda and her family, and of course that pilot who will forever carry that his whole life. Let's pray for him too. So now with that being said, I would like to just ask you some very simple questions. Will you shut down that engine and stop the invisible blades of the Grim Reaper? Will you not use the parking brake? Leave it alone and not risk having flat spots on the tires or blowing out your tires and injuring people on landing or damaging the aircraft. Are you going to shut down that engine should any passengers come around the aircraft that can't see that propeller blade even though you know it's there? Now, these questions sound a little condescending. Maybe they are. But one thing that I've learned about aviation is that if we don't talk about it, you don't think about it. And if you don't think about it beforehand, when the time comes to take right action, you're likely to take the wrong action. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy this new flight patch of engine running, Grim Reaper harvesting. It's a little bit gory, but yeah, it looks cool on your flight jacket. Now remember, these flight patches are all free. Just send me an email, and I will ask for a donation if you have it, just to help cover the cost. They are kind of expensive to make and design and produce and send out to you. But please share this video and the article. The article you can go on and read. This one's Grim Reaper. And then you can download. You have to go to Documents, and then you can download the article for free. And I hope that this saves one passenger. It saves one pilot getting out of that plane, leaving the engine running. I hope it saves a life. And that's how serious just not paying attention to the parking brake can be. That's how serious leaving that engine running when you have people operating around that aircraft. Just shut down the engine. It's not worth it. So with that, if you would like to support my channel, please like and subscribe, share it with other friends. But also, if you would like me to come out to do flight reviews, to do some flight training, I'd be more than happy to. And then after doing the flight reviews and flight training, I'd be more than happy to speak to your group and discuss any of the many topics that's facing aviation now. And most importantly, what we're going to do to fix them. Because we're in a new era of aviation. We're going to make things better. We are. Also, if you'd like to come out here to California and you need to build some multi-engine time, I donate my instruction time for free. You just have to pay for the Seneca 2, which is a twin-engine Piper Seneca, turbocharged, 6 seats, new interior, 430 watts, the G5, so it's half-glass cockpit. But it would be my honor to teach you new guys how to go into Class Bravo Airport. So let's go into Las Vegas and see a show. Let's go down to San Diego and hit the Gaslamp District and walk around and see all the different restaurants down there. Or maybe we can fly down to Mexico and teach you how to do international border crossings. Please visit my other website or other articles and videos here. One is on whale watching. If you come out here, we could use the twin engine airplane to go out and go whale watching. We could see this time of the year is the gray whales are finishing up their migration, and then by summer we'll have the blue whales. So we can go out and do that. All of this flight time counts towards your multi-engine commercial rating, and it's all signed off by instructor me. So anyways, please look at these other articles and videos if you like this one, and you can see all about whale watching, doing sightseeing tours to build your flight time, or flying down to Mexico or going whale watching. So with that being said, I would like to just say, God bless. Keep flying speed. Peace.